Namaste.
Namaste.
So wonderful to have you here in India at Ekam, Lewis.
Yeah. I mean, this is so close to the way I understand happiness. So
Beautiful.
being here with you, with your team, being at your home, talking about how we get to world happiness. This is something that I'm very blessed and honored. Thank you so much for allowing me to have this conversation.
I truly appreciate your vision that you have for the world and the vision to create a happy world and people who can live being happy. That's very important for the world.
Thank you. We're on this journey together.
Absolutely.
And this World Happiness Fest is special because we decided to focus on one topic that we call regeneration. So I think that we all, and in many places of the world, we are seeing more and more polarization. We are seeing division. We are seeing trust being jeopardized. We are seeing that people have a lot of fear. So we wanted to focus all this 2025 around the topic of regenerative happiness. So with that in mind, I would love to understand from you, what do you see? Where do you see the power of regeneration and happiness?
Whatever situation you're saying the world is in, whether it is the different crises the world is seeing, political crisis, economic crisis, where people are not able to trust the other, the wars that we are seeing. What Sri Krishnaji and I say is at the heart of it is humanity's consciousness. All these crises that we are seeing in the external world is a manifestation of scores of people, their consciousness and their state of being. So in order to create the peace, the harmony, the joy, the happiness, the state of an individual, scores of individuals, that needs to get transformed. And when that happens, then we will be living in a world where there is a lot of joy, a lot of harmony and a lot of happiness. So a focus is the state of being. The state in the sense, the inner experience of an individual, thoughts, emotions, feelings, perceptions, ideas. Our focus is on creating people who can live in beautiful states. And the ultimate vision is people who can live in enlightened states of consciousness, free of conflict, free of division, free of suffering, and live in such a profound state of being and create a huge impact on life around.
Wow. You mentioned two things that are very
Yes,
big.
please.
One of them is enlightenment,
Yes.
and the other one is suffering. Can you define both of them so we understand what we are talking about?
Yes, the fundamental definition of enlightenment for us and where we lead individuals and seekers to is a state of living in an unperturbed, calm state. Where one is not bogged down with the challenges and the problems that is arising, not going, moving into suffering and sadness, but you are able to kind of remain in that state of unperturbed calm, free of suffering, and then respond to life from that state. Because the largest part of an individual's life, the largest problem in an individual's life, it just happens that an individual moves into suffering state and then responds to life from that state of suffering. And when that happens, the entire energy of that suffering state gets transferred through one's actions and is impacting the loved ones, the life, and it is spreading in the world. So if you want to bring about a beautiful world, we need many, many scores of people living in a state that is free of suffering and live one's life in the state of unperturbed calm, irrespective of what life's challenges are, because from that state there is great intelligence. From that state there is you're able to tune into the divine intelligence of the universe, and you're able to respond with greater care, with greater compassion and greater love. And we see that the world needs it It has always needed it, but it needs it now more than ever.
Absolutely. So, is there, referring to enlightenment, is there a timeline for people? Can everybody be enlightened?
See, when we run this journey for seekers for enlightenment, we have young people come to these journeys. The youngest we have had is, I think, is a 13-year-old because she really wanted to be in the journey while all her family was there in the journey. So she was the youngest. We have young couples who come even before, like, they kind of decide to get married or enter into a relationship. They want to free themselves of suffering, free themselves of all that is separating and keeping them in conflict. So they are able to start off their life on a very beautiful platform, free of suffering. This journey is just not limited to seekers who want to live in that great state and experience a different life. I would say what our vision is to create enlightened leaders, enlightened business owners, enlightened teachers, enlightened parents, enlightened couples. That is our vision. We want enlightenment to get into an everyday walk of life. That is, you live in this state, then you're a very beautiful partner to your spouse. If you're in this enlightened state, you're a great parent to your child because you have this incredible ability to connect, to impact. That's what a child needs. That's what a relationship needs. And if you are in this state of unperturbed calm, you are able to make these business decisions, which is probably, I mean, it's many times very conflicting what decision to make, whether to say yes or no. But when it comes from a state of unperturbed calm and not from inner anxiety and stress and fear and all those suffering states, then you are a very clear thinker. There is no rush. You're able to absorb the entire situation and you're able to make the decision. So enlightenment, earlier it was just limited to a few group of people, a very small minority of people who were like, who decided to let go of this world and create or live in a different state in the world. But for us, what we believe is when we are able to create enlightened individuals who are in the thick of the world, then we will be able to change the world. Then we'll be able to create those impact, to create greater harmony, peace, love, compassion, for the world needs it today.
Wow. So you're giving me a lot of hope. Because one of the goals of the manifestations that we have, the World Happiness Foundation, is 10 billion
Okay.
happy by 2050.
Beautiful.
So we still have 25 years. And we are going to grow 2 billion people from 8 that we are today into 25. Do you have a recommendation? Do you have a roadmap to get into 2050 with 10 billion happy? Can we do it?
Absolutely, yes. The vision that we share is pretty close. 0.001% of humanity. That is, right now it will be 81,000 people to live in that profound enlightened state. And then each of these individuals who's living in that enlightened state becomes a light to the world, to share happiness to, say, hundreds of thousands of people. So it is like we're creating these satellite individuals who can spread this joy, who can spread this happiness. And that is where probably both our visions are going to meet.
Absolutely. 81,000 is much probable. But so you think it is a tipping point, right? When you get to 81,000, there will be a massive
a phase transition in humanity's consciousness. Pretty similar to what we observe in nature, like how water droplets turn into ice in a lake. There is, as winter sets in, it's just one drop after another drop. It changes into ice and it becomes ice and ice and ice slowly. But when a particular number of droplets have become ice, then it is instantaneous. It becomes a sheet of ice overnight. Even in Sweden, where we have the Center Oneness Nordic in Sweden, the European Center for Enlightenment, there is a very special day in the spring. That is like one little leaf becomes green, and from morning to evening, and suddenly you'll have the entire forest become green in color. So pretty similarly, what we're creating is working on individuals, their enlightenment, their liberation and freedom, and then we would begin to see a huge impact in the world.
Wow, I'm curious, how many do we have already out of these to 81,000?
We have a couple of thousands who are living in this state. What we believe is with every journey, with every passing year, or even with every passing month, we see a huge jump in the way how long it takes for people to live in that state. It is a fast process. As more and more people are getting into that state, it becomes very effortless and very easy for the new people to enter that state.
Wow, so inspiring, and I guess that to get into that phase, we have to cleansing or clean our samskaras, right? Our
Yes.
wounds. I know that you have a gift of cleansing those samskaras or wounds. Can you tell us a bit more? What is the process? How do you do it?
The samskaras, just for people who really don't get it, it's our deep impressions that we have in our consciousness. And it becomes the breeding ground, especially the negative samskaras, which has come because of some hurt or because of something that's getting passed on from your previous generations through epigenetics, through the karmic flow. It becomes like you're getting bound to suffering. It becomes a breeding ground for more suffering. It becomes a breeding ground for similar patterns to emerge. And what the processes that we lead through people through the mystical experiences, the powerful states of consciousness where we land people in, allows a breakage of these patterns in one's consciousness. That is, imagine one being tied up many, many times and being bound with a rope. And there is a powerful journey that cuts the entire rope and breaks one free of that entanglement. That we can kind of say is a pictorial depiction of what is possible in consciousness. And one's consciousness and one's life is so very related. You can't really separate consciousness and life. There is the similar patterns because of the imprints in your consciousness create similar life situations. It is like a vicious cycle where you are caught, and it's a cycle just not about this lifetime. Many times it's about many lifetimes. Sometimes it's about many generations, and then you get caught in similar patterns in families, in one's life. And the way to break free of that samskaras is to go through a very powerful spiritual cleanse. And that is what our processes does. Not only cleansing the deep-rooted samskaras, but it happens by landing one in very beautiful states of consciousness along with the wisdom. That's why I say we have created an entire ecosystem with meditations, with processes, with mystical happening through the dikshas, through the state that they get immersed in. It is like the entire ecosystem has been created for individuals to experience freedom and liberation. And when you are free, when you are liberated, when you are joyful, when you are in a beautiful state, it is like a beautiful flower that has flowered, and you can't stop the fragrance. You can't say, no, it's limited only to this much. No, it spreads. It spreads. It impacts life. Happy people create a happy world, and I believe your vision is from that. And unhappy people are going to create more sadness. Angry people are going to create more tension. Fearful people are going to create more anxiety. That is the nature of life. And when more and more people are able to become free of their samskaras, that is holding them back, it's like a breeding ground for all suffering states. And it's getting them into the same experiences. Probably, I've heard of situations where the family, everybody lives in fear and anxiety. It just continues and continues, and that needs to break. And that's why samskara shuddhi is a very powerful process that happens. It happens in the field of awakening retreat that I lead all over the world. And here Sri Krishnaji at Ekam does very special festival, and the focus of the festival is to create abundance for the individual, and that happens through working out of the negative samskaras. The negative samskaras doesn't allow a flow of abundance in people's lives. The Oneness Abundance Festival that happens at Ekam is directed towards freeing individuals of those negative samskaras, allowing their life to be flooded with a lot of abundance.
Wow. Are those samskaras mostly created in our childhood?
There are different places from which one has these samskaras. Experiences in one's childhood has become the breeding ground. It is impression in one's consciousness. Experiences that you had when you were brought to this world, at the time you were brought into this world, that is, you were delivered from your mother's womb. Experiences as you were growing in your mother's womb, at the time of conception. They're all very important nodal points in one's life. It just doesn't stop there. It goes into the experiences which your ancestors have had, their experiences, their states that they have fueled or nurtured. They get passed on. Today, science is pretty close in showing that epigenetics is getting passed on, but we're not just limiting ourselves to epigenetics. We're talking about a karmic flow that happens, and so samskaras are basically just not limited to the childhood experiences. Consciousness is vast. It kind of predates birth. It kind of predates conception. It is like flow of the samskaras from the ancestors. Sometimes flow of samskaras from the previous lives. People have these powerful revelations, powerful experiences in the field of awakening, and also at the oneness abundance festival that happens in Ekam. They have revelations. They get to see where it is all, like, they get to see what has happened to their lives and how their life is so complicated because of this samskara. And when they do experience freedom from it, it is like, somebody who's been living in suffocation with no air and suddenly gets to breathe some fresh air.
Yeah.
It's like that. Or somebody who's not seen colors at all, has been blind, and suddenly you're getting the eyesight to see a lot of colors. So that is the experience people have. They breathe, they see, they hear, they listen, they love. It's a very beautiful experience. When people go through these journeys, it's like going and taking a dip in Ganga.
Yeah.
But over here, it is to become free of the immersion in this journey, is to become free of those samskaras that is binding and making them live such a constricted, limited life.
Wow. I myself, I am a hypnotherapist,
Beautiful.
so I do regressions,
Okay.
and I go to the samskaras. Sometimes we call them wounds somehow
Wounds,
related
okay.
to it. But there is something that you have to have the gift of transfer, which is the gift of Diksha.
Diksha, yes.
So can you explain a bit more what it is? How does it work? Why it's so important? And in Indian culture, this is so ancient
Yes.
that only special Sris such as yourself and Krishnaji can do. Can you explain a bit more how does it work?
It is a very old sages and saints of the earlier times have given dikshas, but the difference is they have only given dikshas to very special disciples and not to everyone. When Sri Krishnaji was 11 years old, Krishnaji had a very powerful awakening, and in that state, he shared his first diksha, where he was able to awaken the divine in the other. And around him, there were so many experiences of healing, miracles, synchronicities when he was doing and sharing with all his fellow students in school. And it started then. And Diksha phenomenon today is not limited to few people. We initiate people who've gone through this journey, who've gone through powerful experiences. They become Diksha givers and share it to their family, their friends, and their world. So we have today hundreds of thousands of Diksha givers all over the world sharing this very beautiful phenomenon of Diksha to the world. We have even Tony Robbins share it in his platform. He shares the Diksha. Of course, he calls it the one as blessing, just to make it very familiar to the people of the America. But people do share. We have people from all over the world, east, west, pretty much every continent, and different cultures, different religions, sharing the Diksha, whereby one awakens the divine in the other.
So is this related to Kundalini awakening as well, or this is different?
Of course, when you receive the Diksha from somebody who's enlightened, that Diksha is going to be very powerful because of the way the Kundalini is, the ability for them to awaken the Kundalini in the other. But in the Diksha process that people are sharing, it is more about awakening to their personal divine in their hearts. And from that state, you share a healing, you share a miracle by awakening the divine in the other's heart. The intelligence that is present all over the world is just not limited to few people. Every individual, every species, the entire universe is flooded with the divine intelligence. And Diksha is a process of awakening to one's individual divine, personal divine, and thereby awakening the divine in the other, the one who's receiving, and creating a blessing, creating a miracle for the other.
Oh my goodness, I want to awaken. I have to know how to do this. I guess everybody wants to know how to do this.
Yes.
So we have to be the chosen ones.
What we believe, what Sri Krishnaji and I definitely recommend Diksha givers is, it's important that you learn to live in a beautiful state. You learn to live in a beautiful state. You learn to live free of suffering. Of course, if you're living in enlightened states, even better. Because your state is like that hindrance in your consciousness that stops the divine from flowing. So if you are somebody who is caught up in your own suffering or your own ideas or your own self-righteousness, you're not truly allowing the divine to flow through you. And that becomes like a block in your being that beautiful vessel for the transfer of energy. So we say that is why it is so important for us that individuals learn to live free of suffering. Individuals at least begin to live in beautiful states. And that is when the transfer is so beautiful. That is when your power for the divine to flow through you. You emerge as that beautiful vessel in which you are able to allow the divine to flow through to impact the other.
Wow. I think if we could get that, everybody, that would be easier.
Yes,
For
absolutely.
enlightenment
Yes.
for the whole world, right?
Yes.
And for more peace.
Yes.
Something that we like to say at the World Happiness Foundation is that it's not about being happy, it's about being happiness. So we embody what we talk about. And I know that you have so many techniques and so many meditations. I especially like the soul sync
Yes.
meditation. And I was wondering if maybe we can offer this.
Absolutely.
As
It'll be
part
very
of this
beautiful to
experience.
offer the people. You want us to start with that?
So, yes,
Yes.
why don't we do
Let
that?
me give you a brief
Yes, please.
overview of what soul sync meditation is. We see it as a meditation that allows you to get into a place of creating calm in your body, quiet in one's mind, and expansion in one's consciousness. And not only that, it is also being so expanded and feeling so connected to the universe at that point when you hold an intention, that particular intention manifests in your life. So that is pretty much in very simple terms what a soul sync meditation does. And we have people all over the world use this meditation. It's for beginners who just don't know about anything about meditation. It's great because it's so guided. It is step by step. And we have people who are enlightened who still do the soul sync meditation. So it's a very powerful practice, and I'll be very happy to share it with you. So be seated with your spine erect. Place both your feet on the floor. Plant them firmly. Close your eyes. Place your palms on your thighs, your palms facing skywards. Let us begin with slow and deep breathing. You will count your breath with the touch of your thumb and your fingers. Let us practice 8 cycles of conscious breathing. For the next 8 cycles of breath, inhale deeply. As you exhale, make a humming sound that would vibrate your head. For the next 8 cycles of breath, breathe in and breathe out, bringing your attention to the tiny little pause that happens between every inhalation and exhalation. For the next 8 cycles of breath, you will inhale deeply. As you exhale, you will chant Aham, or I am the limitless consciousness. Aham. 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 Now bring a gentle touch between your thumb and your index finger on both your hands. See yourself expanding into light. Everything and everybody around you becoming one in the unitary field of consciousness and expanding into light. In this space, you are one. Now hold one heartfelt intention that you want to see manifest in your life. See it and feel it happen in your life. Allow your hearts to move into a space of deep gratitude for this blessing that you received. Take a deep breath. Slowly open your eyes.
We can be in that state, in this state for a long time, right?
Yes. And imagine doing it every day in the morning so that, that state spreads through the day. And it's just not limited to you. It is to everyone, to every person, to every individual whom you get in touch with.
Thank you so much for all these learnings and practical ways to get into that state of calm. I know that you run this program called Field of Awakening,
Yes.
and we have one coming soon
Yes.
in Miami and Verona after that. Can you tell us a bit more what people do in those events?
Absolutely. So, Field of Awakening, as the name says it, it is a field that is created for an awakening experience. And when you have a powerful experience of awakening, two things happen. One is you become a true seeker of enlightenment because you know there is a different way to live life, there is a different experience of life that is possible. But not only that, when you have a glimpse of a very powerful state, it is like breaking that which is stifling you, disentanglement to that which is curtailing you, binding you into experiencing freedom and liberation, not only internally but also in your external life. What we have seen happen again and again is when one is taking a powerful dip in this awakening, great miracles, synchronicities, healing, all this happen because you are freed from that which has caused all this in your life. And the one that is coming to Miami is very special. It is awakening to costless love. And when that happens, of course, there's a lot of healing that happens in one's body, in one's family. You know, something that's been continuing for many generations. You experience freedom, and that is a very beautiful awakening to an experience of causeless love that happens in the field of awakening that's happening in Miami. The one that is happening in Verona is where one awakens to limitless joy, a joy where you become free of that which is binding you to suffering, an incredible presence and incredible joy in everyday life. Thereby, you become a great decision maker. There is clarity about one's life, there is clarity in one's thinking, and life becomes incredibly beautiful when you live life that way. See, a lot of complications in life
Yes.
is more so because of one state. Imagine internally you are in joy, you are in bliss, you are present. You become incredibly powerful to handle the challenges. And many times the challenges dissolve themselves. And few times you are in a position to give that attention to that challenge, that presence, that clarity, that calmness into that situation by which they dissolve, problems dissolve, challenges dissolve. So that is the field of awakening that is coming to Verona.
Wow. Well, we cannot miss it.
Yes,
I
I
will.
would love to have you there,
I'd
definitely,
love to
Louis.
be there for
Yes,
sure.
yes,
Well, I feel that we learned so much. This is the beginning of the World
yes,
Happiness Fest online 2025. You are opening with these blessings and with this practicality. I think this is very important. Sometimes we are too much in our mind, thinking that we can solve things from the thinking mind. And I feel the way you do it is that we have to bring this to the body. We have to connect with the universe and the divine, and that's not in the mind. It has to go beyond that,
yes,
right?
absolutely. Beyond the mind. And
So,
congratulations on such a spectacular vision, and congratulations on this World Happiness 2025 for regenerative happiness.
thank you.
Lovely. Namaste.